Hi everyone!
Welcome to In Our Defence, the podcast designed to give you all the advice you need whilst going through the trials and tribulations of life to and at the bar. Now, we wouldn't be a legal podcast if we didn't give you a legal disclaimer.
Whilst every effort has been made to ensure the content of this podcast is accurate, none of it is to be taken as professional advice in any capacity. We might talk a lot about a lot of things in a lot of detail, but in our defence, we are still learning too.
That I look like I have no eyebrows. Guys, for the record,
Okay, girl.
I have eyebrows, in case
Why are you
anyone...
doing this? Rock and roll.
In case any of the listeners were worried, I have two eyebrows. Hi everyone, sorry about that.
Hi guys, welcome back to the 8th episode of In Our Defence. Today, me and Lou are going to be talking about qualifying sessions. So each of the inns, as we've discussed previously, there is 4 of them. They offer these qualifying sessions and you have to do 10 of them to become a barrister and get called to the bar, basically. So we're going to be talking about that, our experiences with the qualifying sessions, and for 5 of our qualifying session points, me and Lou went on a residential weekend in Leeds, and we'll tell you all about our experience there. It's really fun and a great time, and we will get to that after the topic of the week. But firstly, I would just like to start by saying thank you as always for all your support on the podcast. All we wanted to do starting this podcast was just help even one person who's starting the bar course or going on a journey to become a barrister. That was our aim and that was our goal, and as long as we can do that, that's all I care about. So thank you everybody that continues to watch. We do appreciate it. And we are now going to be reducing the podcast to once every 2 weeks, just because our work schedules are hectic and we can't get one out feasibly every week. So we're doing it bi-weekly. I'm sure people won't mind. I don't think we've built up that much of a fan base so far. So I
don't want to let the fans down, but
exactly. Another thing I just wanted to touch on as well was I haven't been uploading the podcast to Spotify for a while, since the 3rd episode actually. The reason being because I think I double checked the 3rd episode had like 2 listens on Spotify. So I was like, it's not worth the time or the effort to be putting this up for it to get two listens. So if that's something that people are really wanting, like they prefer,
if you're one of the 2 people who have listened,
please come forward.
State your case and we'll consider your submissions.
Yeah, we would like to send you a gift to say thank you. So if there's high demand for it to be put on Spotify, I would definitely do that again.
And if anyone wants to sponsor us,
Yeah, if anyone, if you want to put an ad on there, we'd really appreciate it. But we're going to go into the topic of the week. Lou, do you want to start this week?
Why, yes, I do.
Lovely.
My topic of the week this week is slightly delayed because we didn't get an episode out last week, so my topic of the week is actually a topic from about 2 weeks ago, and it's the fact that a man has become the first person in England and Wales to be convicted of cyber flashing. Cyber flashing is the practice of sending an unsolicited sexual photo or image to people via social media or dating apps, but it can also be through things such as AirDrop, if you've got an iPhone, or Bluetooth. In some cases, it can appear on a person's device so that even if they reject the image, you can still see the preview. So it became an offence on the 31st of January this year as part of the Online Safety Act. And the defendant in this case had sent unsolicited pictures to a 15-year-old girl and woman in February this year. He was convicted on the 12th of Feb. And he's going to be sentenced for that on the 11th of March, so in a couple of weeks' time. Those found guilty of the base offence of sharing an intimate image could be punished by imprisonment for up to 6 months or 2 years if it's proven that the perpetrator also intended to cause distress, alarm or humiliation, or shared the image to obtain sexual gratification. So that's my topic of the week. Very brief, but I just think it's about time really that something like this, that there is far too much on social media. And I mean, I think X or Twitter is horrendous for it.
I think certain social media sites, like specifically X, I'm not going to call it X because it will never be X in my brain.
No,
It'll always
it's
be
Twitter.
Twitter.
Let's just call a spade. It's Twitter.
Yeah. I think they've got limited regulations on what people can, like they've got limited control over what people post on Twitter. So people do tend to take to Twitter if they're gonna do something of that nature. It's really interesting to see how the law sort of develops to keep up with technology advancements and everything.
Even it specifically mentions AirDrop. Now, AirDrop isn't specific to just iPhones. And, I've been, just to give an example, in fact, was it when I was with you, India? When we were at Alton Towers in the queue?
Oh, yeah!
And this girl kept trying to AirDrop me photos. Like, it was obviously just kids, thinking it was funny, just messing around. But it kept coming up on my phone like, so-and-so wants to send you a photo, so-and-so wants to send you a photo. And even though obviously I was clicking reject and then eventually turned my AirDrop off once I worked out how to do it because I'm 1,000 years old.
Once we got fed up of her sending it 10 times.
Fed up of all the notifications of this person trying to send me a photo of their shoes. For someone perhaps who doesn't know how to work out how to turn AirDrop off, I mean, like me, that could be really, really, distressing.
Oh my God, it'd be really distressing, 1,000%. I mean, even I would be, if I was out in public or say it was sort of on public transport or something and I got airdropped something like that, I'd be horrified. It'd be absolutely awful. So I'm really pleased that the law is advancing and developing to include things that people may not have thought of. I mean, especially until you told me about this case, Lou, I wouldn't have really thought about, because it's never happened to me, I wouldn't have really thought about airdrop in that context and how it could be used in a bad way. It is an interesting development, and I'll be interested to see how the law progresses in the future as well to accommodate this.
Well, the sentence, as I say, is in March, so perhaps I'll keep an eye on it.
We can give an update like we did with Brianna Jai as well. So my topic of the week this week, guys, has come from the Inner Temple Daily Digest. We love the Inner Temple Daily Digest. Definitely subscribe to that if you're a law student. And essentially, the High Court has now provided guidance on psychological assessments in care proceedings. So mine is family law. Again, we have spoken a little bit about family law previously. It's sort of a subject of law that me and Lou are both really interested in. So essentially, the court has now given guidance on when an application for a psychological assessment should be made. So in care proceedings, depending on the situation and the circumstances of the case, the child may be, the local authority, so the council, may be advocating for the child to be taken off the mother in certain circumstances. In some cases, the mother or the person with parental responsibility, may require a psychological assessment to ensure that the proceedings are carried out justly and within the law. And that's a Part 25 application. And in this case, so I'm just going to read it just so I get it right. It's West Northamptonshire Council versus the mother, in brackets, psychological assessments 2024, which is really interesting to see 2024 now as a case citation because it feels like it's not even 2024. And then the citation is EWHC 395 brackets FAM. The solicitor for the mother had made a Part 25 application for a psychological assessment of the mother, and they argued that that assessment would be helpful to see how the mother could function in society. Essentially, Mrs. Justice Leven, I think I'm saying her name right, basically said that wasn't what the Part 25 application test is supposed to be used for. And essentially, the solicitor for the mother tried to withdraw the application sort of moments before they went into court, and Mrs. Justice Leven didn't allow that, and she didn't allow them to withdraw the application, and she considered the application in the hearing. Again, I think that goes back to sort of the overriding objective, as everything does, and dealing with cases at proportionate cost, not making unnecessary hearings, because this was a Part 25 hearing in order to hear the application, with the solicitor intending to withdraw that moments before the hearing. I think it's an interesting point of view, because normally we hear about the court system being, the judges being late and the court listings being messed up, and it's sort of all the burden and the blame is placed on the court. but when does it come time for counsel and solicitors and the legal advisors to sort of take that burden on as well, to be like, maybe we shouldn't be making these applications if, we're going to withdraw at moments before the hearing. That's my humble opinion. My opinion doesn't really mean anything right now in the grand scheme of things, but I think
your opinion means... Let's not diminish. We're not doing this.
I thought that was just an interesting case to touch on, as it does provide sort of updated guidance as of 2024 on how and when to make a psychological assessment under Part 25 in care proceedings. And that's just a recent development I thought was quite interesting. If you are interested, as always, I will leave both mine and Lou's topic of the week in the bio below for you to take a little look at. As I said at the start, you have to have 10 qualifying sessions with your in before you get called to the bar. So these 10 qualifying sessions have to be in 5 different topics. So the 5 topics are, I'm reading again because I don't want to get it wrong. The 5 topics are advocacy skills, preparation for pupillage, ethics, standards and values, equality, diversity and inclusion, and legal knowledge, justice and the rule of law. So you have to have 1 qualifying session in each of those topics, and then you have to have 2 interactive qualifying sessions, and then the rest can just be in whatever you want to do. So the easiest way that me and Lou found to sort of get our qualifying sessions, both being interactive and non-interactive, was to go on a residential weekend. Lincoln's Inn do 3 throughout the year. So they've got Weetwood Hall in Leeds, which is where me and Lou went, Moore Hall in Birmingham, and Cumberland Lodge in Windsor.
There are other types of qualifying sessions as well. There are presentations that you can attend online, so like sort of online lectures. There's obviously your dinners, so you can go and dine in the inn.
Bar mess dinners.
I actually got 2 of my qualifying sessions done before I started the bar course. So I attended 2 of the online seminars, Zoom lecture seminars, just because I got them under my belt. Because once you get on the course and once you sort of are in the throes of studying, it can trying to find time to tick off another thing, like a qualifying session, it can run away with you. Booked up so quickly, especially ones that have more than 1 qualifying session attached to them, like the residential weekends. And in fact, our introductory weekend was 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. So you guys can imagine when I first met Lou and I didn't know anything about the bar course, and she was like, have you got any qualifying sessions? I was like, what's a qualifying session? I was like, I had no idea. I was so stressed. I will say there are ones you can go and attend. So you can go to the introductory weekend, which me and Lou did. We'll talk about that. The residential weekends, which are all in person. You can go to the dinners in London or lectures in London, but you can also do a lot of them online as well.
They do ones off circuit as well, don't they? And they do ones in local.
Yeah, because I know a couple of people on our bar course went to one in Birmingham. It's a lot easier than you think to get these qualifying session points if you're organised. It's all very clear on the website and everything and how to book them. Should we start with our experience on the introductory weekend, Lou?
My experience for the introductory weekend was a little bit different to India's. I mean, I had a lovely time. It was my first time ever, well no, that's a lie, second time going to the inn, and I was so excited, but I was so unwell. I felt so poorly. I was full of cold, full of headache, full of cough and just horrible, yuck. There was a train strike as well. So me and India had to get the coach from Nottingham to London.
And you guys, I'm a travel sick queen. I get so travel sick. As soon as me and Lou and our other friend Shannon met, we all sort of organised to go to this introductory weekend, and we barely knew each other really at this point. So over a Friday and a Saturday, and then we'd planned to go back to Nottingham on the Saturday evening. The Friday was a lecture and a dinner, wasn't it, Lou?
Yes, that's right.
We get down to London, we check into our hotel, and we're thinking, right, so we've got I'm a very planned person. I need to know what's going on all the time. So I was like, right, we need to leave at this certain time if we want to get to the inn at this time. And I wanted to get there early anyway. We wanted to get there early just because that's me. I like to get places early. So we planned when we were going to leave, and it's chucking it down with rain.
We planned to get an Uber from the hotel because we thought an Uber from the hotel, it was about a 20-minute Uber ride. But because of the train strike, all the Ubers were fully booked.
It wasn't giving us any Ubers, and it was chucking it down with rain, and we were like, the clock was ticking. I was getting stressed out. We just suddenly decided we're going to have to get on the tube because we've got no other option if you want to get there. And it's the sort of thing where if you're late, which is like my worst nightmare anyway, if you're late, you are not going to get sort of marked in attendance. They're like very strict, as they should be with that sort of thing.
And they will shut the doors and you'll be refused entry.
And you'll be in the rain, in the cold, in London. We are sprinting. We're both in court heels and I was in a pencil skirt so I could barely move the bottom of my legs. I was like shuffling through London like this. We didn't have an umbrella, stupidly, or a coat.
No. And I was wearing a dress that went like this and I had this cold and all the rain was like slushing on my face.
On my hair. I'd done my hair and my makeup so nicely to meet all these barristers and all these benches at this dinner, and my hair was flat, stuck to my head like this, wet, no makeup on. Like, it was a disaster. And by the time we got there, we were both sweating because we've been running through, literally sprinting through London.
We did make it on time.
We did make it, and we actually were there early because thankfully we'd given ourselves enough time by being extra early to get there, like, sort of just early enough. We go for the lecture. The lecture was fine, but it was very hot in there. We were all feeling a bit queasy, a bit faint. And then we went for the dinner, and we were obviously seated separately. But I ended up being sat next to a girl who was on our bar course in Nottingham, which was kind of random, but really nice. I'll post a picture again because I have put it on one of the previous episodes, and I'll put the other picture of us in the hall looking like drowned rats.
Check the dining rules at your inn. Some have it, some don't. I suspect they all will. But you know, it's things like the most basic things of what they expect from you in terms of your etiquette and how to conduct yourself at these dinners. For someone like myself, you know, who hasn't sort of been or hasn't been around, or I suppose immersed in that sort of world before, you know, it's important to just familiarise with what's expected of you before you go. You know, you wait for everyone's food around you before you start eating, which sounds like common sense, but you know, it's a real thing.
Some people don't learn that. Some people don't learn that growing up. Like,
you pass the port to the left. You know, it's small things like that. How you hold your wine glass. You know.
Yeah. Even down to sort of how you hold your knife and fork. Like, we were on the train down there and we were really panicked because Lou found all these rules of bar mess dinners, which is a different thing. So bar mess dinners are really strict, and it's like you have to pass your dinner a certain way, and it's all very strict and very calculated. We were on the train like trying to revise for this dinner which way to pass the dinner and the food and the potatoes, when in reality it didn't matter because it wasn't a bar mess dinner anyway. So the next day we wake up. Basically, we were in the cheapest hotel room we could find in London, and there was somebody having a party above us all night. Our room didn't even have a window. There was 3 of us in one room. We didn't sleep the whole night. We were exhausted. We'd had too much wine the night before, sort of wandering over. And Lou starts to feel very unwell, don't you, Lou?
It turned out I had a chest and a sinus infection, guys. So I wasn't just making it up. I was feeling particularly unwell. But I had to call my mum, saying, I'm not going, I can't do it anymore. But she said, you're there, just sit through. We had 2 more lectures, didn't we?
Yeah, there was 2 in the morning, and then we got released at like 1,
lunch. I have to say, the staff at Lincoln's Inn were so lovely. Like, I think they could see I was struggling, but I was determined. I was like, I'm not losing my qualifying session. I sat right at the back of the lecture hall, and just every time I had to cough, I just ran out. As soon as we finished, I was She was off. She was on the first train home. Even though there was a train strike, fortunately, the line which I had 1 or 2. It was a reduced timetable, and I managed to get a seat on one of the few services that were actually running. I was on my way home on the train, feeling very sorry for myself, when I got a text from India saying, our coach for tonight, in fact, has been cancelled. And you and Shannon got stuck in London.
Lou's left me at this point. I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to have sort of a leisurely afternoon with Shannon. We're going to go browse on the shops. We're going to go get some lunch. We're going to just chill before our coach. I get a text. Your coach has been cancelled. And as Lou said, it was a train strike. Bearing in mind, this was about 3 o'clock. I look on the train line. The last and only train back to Nottingham of the day was at 4. And this was about 3 o'clock. Our bags and coats were in our hotel in Hyde Park. We were in Embankment in the inns, and we had to get to St Pancras to get her to back to Nottingham. I was running for the tube through London on my own. I was dripping with sweat because I had a big coat on. I was fed up. I was on the verge of tears. Honestly, it was awful.
You got your steps in that weekend though, at least.
Yeah, exactly. I came back like looking like Baywatch. Honestly, I've really done my workout for that weekend. I managed to do it, and we got on the train after running through London. So anyway, that was our experience. It was a really good experience. As Lou said, the staff were lovely, and definitely if you can, go and do an introductory weekend because it gets you going, gets you in the swing of things, gets you your 3 qualifying session points.
I found it a really nice way to break you in gently, you know, what the inn's like what facilities are available to you, what to expect. And like I say, they don't ask too much of you, which I thought was quite nice. It was just quite sold out, and
that was our experience on the introductory weekend. Now, in between that weekend and the next weekend, which we're going to talk about, we just did like sort of lectures online and some remote things. Then we got an email through saying apply for the residential weekend in Leeds now. So we both applied for, and it's done on a random ballot. I got selected for the weekend and Lou didn't, and we were gutted because we were like, obviously I was really pleased that I got on the weekend, but I was sad that I wouldn't be able to sort of share that experience with
I was
Lou.
also really pleased that India got on as well. I'm not just with clear. I think they'd had a few people drop out, or a couple of spaces became available, and so they sent an email out saying, if you want a space, let me know. And I was with you when I got that email, so immediately we were like, yeah.
We went to the Weetwood Hall weekend in Leeds, and this was 5 qualifying session points. Although, you know, it's a really good experience and it's a really great thing to do, and it is 5 qualifying session points, it's not easy to get those points. You do have to do prior work before you go. So we got 1 criminal brief, 1 civil brief, we had to prep for an ethics seminar, and then we had to do a 5-minute presentation on a topic of our choice.
I'm just looking.
I think Lou's going to whip out the folder. We got given a bundle, essentially, of all the work we had to do, and we both printed it out, put it in a folder. Lou's got hers there. Give us a tour, Lulu.
Yeah, we got given this when we got to the weekend, which is like an itinerary, and we also got sort of a guide. So that's the criminal advocacy, and then we also have the somewhere civil advocacy brief in there as well. Because I booked on later, we weren't able to share a room. We were in separate rooms. You can state a preference if there is someone you want to stay with. India, but obviously we didn't. It was too late by that point.
Yeah, I stayed with my friend Seffi because I'd met her at the introductory weekend.
And that's a fantastic example of, you know, why going to the introductory weekend is such a good thing.
On a Friday, you meet everybody, you go for dinner, you have sort of drinks and everything afterwards. But definitely do network and speak to the barristers, speak to people around you. To put yourself out there. I always say this, but I really just put yourself out there. Like, be confident. Who cares at the end of the day? You've got nothing to lose.
And then we had a case analysis exercise. Was that the ethics exercise, India? I can't remember.
No, that was the next day. The case analysis was that was another thing I forgot to mention, that we got given a brief and we had to basically analyse the legal issues. Oh
yes, you're right.
So on the Saturday,
icebreaker in the morning, criminal advocacy, then there was a break. I remember that was in that break I saw India and I was like, how did it go? And your face was just like...
At this point, I was fighting back the tears. I prepped for them really hard and I felt confident in what I'd done. And I got up there and I did my task, and the feedback they gave me was just...
brutal.
Brutal, yeah. It was brutal. Absolutely brutal. And I was really upset.
India is one of the most confident girls I know, and I will say she is a fantastic advocate. Having spent a lot of time in all of her advocacy classes, I've seen how you present yourself, and I could not believe it.
Me and Lou were in separate groups, so I went in with a load of strangers who were all really lovely, really nice people, and did my thing, and I just got absolutely torn to shreds. But I will say, although it sounds really scary and really negative, it was actually really, really helpful. And although the feedback was really brutal, it wasn't to drag me down. It was to sort of build me up and make me a better advocate. And ultimately, hopefully, that's what it did. But I got told, like, you're talking way too fast, you're doing this, you're doing that. Like, I think he said to me at one point, you're like an excitable puppy who just wants to say all this information, and that couldn't sum me up more in a sentence. And that really knocked me back. But in hindsight, having done a lot of reflection on that, it was really helpful. It made me better in my advocacy, and I wouldn't change it for the world, because it was really good feedback, really useful, and I'm glad they were brutal with me. I'd rather somebody be completely upfront and honest with me and brutal than beat around the bush or maybe give me false hope.
Better to have that experience not outside of court.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
No.
the thing is, like, it sounds really scary, but if you do get something wrong in court, you will be told by the judge, and you will probably be told quite straight to the point and quite brutally. So you can't let things like that knock you down, because that is the career you're in. So although it was difficult at the time, upon reflection, it was really helpful and really useful. So don't let that deter you, because at the end of the day, although it was negative, like, I wasn't doing it in court, it didn't mean anything really. I still got my qualifying session points because I still put a lot of work into it. So yeah, basically that was my experience. But Lou's was much better than mine, thankfully. But your advocacy seminar went well, didn't it, Lou? And you got really good feedback on yours.
Yes, but let's just gloss over that.
Why?
Oh, we don't need to. Yeah, it was fine.
And stop it.
You'll make me embarrassed.
Lou's was amazing, and she got really good feedback, and yeah.
Then there was a Q&A session, and then we had lunch, and then the civil advocacy exercise. Then there was a pupillage application surgery, which is it's optional, but that was a really good opportunity actually. You take a copy of previous pupillage applications, and one of the barristers looks over it for you and just gives their thoughts. I took mine, and mine got torn to pieces. So
Well, I took mine, and I'd rustled one up like the week before, because I hadn't actually applied for pupillage that time round. So I just rustled one up, and mine got torn to pieces as well. But my guy who did it, he offered me. He said, "I want you to redo it." He was like, "I can see you've got potential here. Like, I want you to redo it and email it to me." And I emailed it, like, an improved one, which was really helpful because he gave me really good feedback. So again, definitely utilise that.
There was another lecture in the evening, 10 top tips. That was brilliant. Again, dinner. Then Sunday, which was the final day, there was another advocacy exercise where we had to do a presentation.
I was completely stumped on what to do. Lou had already picked her topic, which was
Texas.
Lou had got her topic, really good topic, because she actually lived in Texas for many years, didn't you, Lou? I didn't know what to do, so I had so many different topic ideas, and I ended up doing mine on Svalbard, which is basically a little island near the North Pole. It's like the northernmost place you can live, or something like that. I should know, because I did a whole presentation on it. But as soon as I got up and I said, my presentation is going to be about Svalbard, he said, "Have you ever been?" And I said, "No."
Then there was the ethics session, then there was a break, and then there was another advocacy talk.
In the ethics session we did, basically everybody was sort of getting involved. It's like a seminar, so they ask a question, everybody puts their hands up and answers. So I answered something, and I answered it in the most stupid way.
I don't remember this.
This was before I had done the ethics exam and had probably revised my ethics. I'm clued up on my ethics now, but at this point I wasn't so much. So she said, "What would you do if the barrister you were shadowing as a pupil was sort of intoxicated and like not doing a very competent job?" And I said, "Well, I'd probably speak to him first before I went to like another higher member of chambers. I'd probably want to speak to him first to sort of like discuss." And the lady who was doing it, she was like, "Well, he's probably not going to take to that too lightly, is he?" And everybody started laughing, and I was like, oh my god, I've said the wrong thing, and I feel so embarrassed. But don't let that deter you from going in. Just put your hand up and trying. Although it was a little bit embarrassing and thinking back, like, oh God, but it is what it is, isn't it? And like, you've tried, and at the end of the day, they appreciate like that effort from students and students showing their engagement rather than sitting there and never putting their hand up. So just try.
Yeah.
The whole weekend for me, in retrospect, was a bit of a disaster. But
you did it. You got 5 qualified sessions. You lived to tell the tale.
I got really good things out of it. I met that judge on the weekend who I shadowed. I obviously know her name, I just can't say it because confidentiality and everything. I also met that other barrister who looked over my application, who's also given me some really good opportunities. So I got lots out of it in terms of networking and like getting really good advice and things like that. And also even the feedback was really, really good, even though it was a bit hurt me right there.
Some of the barristers we met there, I then saw again on call night.
Yeah.
And they recognised me, which was really lovely. So again, there is a real sense of community, even though it is the largest of the inns. There is still that kind of sense of it's collegiate, we're all together.
So guys, I think that concludes sort of the crux of the podcast this week. I love that word. And I think Lou's going to just discuss a question that we've had from a fan.
So we've had a question and it says, please can you give me some tips regarding the criminal preparation or criminal litigation preparation and how to answer in the exam, and what is the best tip to understand the question? For me, my technique was know your enemy. So I did mock after mock after mock. And when I say I did, you only get one mock for each paper. But I just went over it again. I was you need to work out what they're asking you. And it's tricky because a lot of them are single best answer, which means you might be faced with a question that has 4 answers that aren't technically wrong, but one of them is the preferred course of action, or one of them is what the best course of action in that particular scenario would be. And they are tricky to answer, they're tricky to identify. Throughout the course of the year and throughout your seminars, in your class, you'll do multiple choice questions as well. And so I just collated sort of my own mock from those.
I did that as well.
Yeah, just get to know the question. In terms of the actual syllabus, literally print out the syllabus, have the syllabus with you, go through the syllabus and make notes. I had a funny way of revising. I mean, it worked for me in that, I like to write things out. I like to do flashcards. Quizlet is good, but repetition. And once you kind of understand what they're looking for, and I know I'm being a bit vague, but once you know the syllabus and once you know, or not the entire syllabus, and the other a big tip I would give is you get the name of the document escapes me now, India, you have to help me. You get told how many questions are going to be on each area.
Breakdown.
Yeah, that's it. So essentially you get a question breakdown before. So you might get a question breakdown and it might say, right, there's going to be 5 questions on bad character, there's going to be 6 questions on hearsay, there's going to be 1 question on procedure. If you've got 7 on appeals, 6 on bad character and however many on hearsay, or 5 on hearsay, I can't do maths.
How to weight your revision.
Yeah, that's 18 questions. Is that 18 questions? I can't do maths.
That's why we're lawyers.
That's so revise the areas where the most questions are going to be, and just and the rest, you've got to be tactical, you've got to be strategic, there's no point learning all of that if there's only one question on it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying ignore it, but prioritise your revision.
I know from personal experience, the first time around, I made a textbook, my own textbook of everything that was on the syllabus. Mm-hmm. And that sounds like, wow, that's really amazing. But it's not, because it didn't help me at all. I wasn't revising it. I was just copying it from the book and putting it in my own words. Mm-hmm. And that's just not how I learn. So it was really unsuccessful for me. Similar to what Lou's saying, just make sure you read the question and highlight the question. Take highlighters in, highlight the question, the main point, not the whole thing, but like the main points of the question as you're going through it. Maybe highlight the answers even to see things that stick out to you. It is a really, really, really hard exam. I can't even express how difficult this exam is.
You can normally rule out one of the answers. There'll be one that says, should the court set fire to the bench? Should the court,
maybe not that one.
Yeah, right. So there's normally one obvious one which you know is a no. And if you're stuck between two, what I did is you've only got 3 hours, circle both of them and come back to it. Go through the ones you know, great, get them down. The ones you're not sure of, circle each, rule out or physically cross out the ones you know are wrong and then come back. If it's a single best answer, you are going to have, I remember there was one question said, the court may, the court should, the court will, or
that's the majority of the questions.
And it's may, must, might, will, or can, should,
and
could.
It's like, well, they will, but should they? I don't know. Should they?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a really, really tricky exam. I don't know if I should say this, but it's not necessarily representative of real life or an accurate reflection of real life because, a closed book exam isn't something that you'd have to do in court. You'd always have your books with you or a laptop or, but I suppose it's the
I agree with you because I know me and Lou, we've seen each other's advocacy. We're both confident, strong advocates, and we're both really good at advocacy, if we say so ourselves. But then when it came to criminal litigation, which is advocacy pretty much but on paper and also everything else as well, like that maybe wasn't our strong suit so much. I don't know. Like you say, it's not so much representative of how it is in practice, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're really qualified to talk on that. I have heard some barristers say that exact thing, Lou, though, that it's not actually 100% representative. But, everybody's got a different opinion. So if you do have any questions, please ask us on Instagram or leave a comment in the YouTube bio, the YouTube comments, and we will answer it on a future episode. Again, if there's any topics that you would like us to talk about, as we said, we're making the episodes bi-weekly now. So, yeah, the next episode will be, let me have a quick look. The next episode we'll be talking about exams. So if you still do have some questions regarding exams and how to tackle them, we have talked about it briefly already, but specifically next week, the week after, we'll be talking about how to deal with sort of failure, how to deal with when you might have not done so well in something and how to progress forward and develop in your knowledge and how to use that feedback for good. We'll be talking about that next time. Definitely watch that if you have further questions or if you're interested. Right. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
It's half now.
Bye-bye.